Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Game of the Max and part 20 of our Hearts of Iron 4 Old World Blues Enclave Redux mod. I went into the comments. I've been listening to you guys. I've been trying to do as much as you guys have told me in the comments of what you'd like to see during this. You guys would like a complete completion of the focus trees, so I'm 100% okay with that. What I've done, and what a lot of you had recommended, was I've given myself 1,000 political power just to be able to start doing a lot of these decisions to rebuild the country. So I got 1,000 political power. I added some more support. I went up to 50 because we were at 4 and you couldn't increase it anymore. So we were kind of hamstringed by that. And I also switched our party over from the Reconstruction Party to the New World Party with the People ideology, where we get the buff from the First Amendment. I thought that was the right thing to do. I feel like that would be, it made a lot more sense with how we've been running this campaign, that we would switch over to the People's Party. Though, looks like Granite did lose some of his traits, but I felt like that was the right way to go on this. If you guys want to, I can always switch it back to the intellectuals, but I felt like it would make more sense for us to go to the People's Party. So, with that, and with further ado from that, what we're going to do is, first off, I'm going to jump from civilian economy over to war economy. I'm going to jump from disorganized army to the free country of men. Switch to lifetime pensions for our military. Not gonna get. I guess I can just get the IRS chiefs for the extra trade income, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna come down in here. We've got 500 political power left to start out with, and we will do the 2 EPA ones left: the Restore Watershed and the Grand Canyon Disaster Cleanup, and then we will do Our Nation's Mighty Bird, Restoring Helene, Incorporating Bismarck, The Power of Yellowstone, Presidents and Barons, and the Church of the Silo. We'll also do Roboco and H&H hand tools. So that uses all the political power I've gave myself, and we've still got quite a few more things to do. So we're going to start up. We're going to let our political power tick up. We're getting 2 per day, so we're not doing too bad. And we will see where this takes us. We are right now doing Department of Education. And then we've just got 2 more to do up here. Or I'm sorry, 3 more to do. We got these, and then we've got these 2 over here. Then we're done with all of this up north. So desecration of the Grand Canyon. In what was even for the time a controversial event, the National Park Service accepted billions of dollars from Poseidon Energy to cordon off sections of the canyon for uranium mining and nuclear waste disposal. The result was nothing but a national scandal that for many marked the beginning of the decline of the United States during the 21st century. But don't let anyone else hear that. However, 200 years later, and Director Coilis has identified that the source of the high radiation of the Colorado is coming from the Grand Canyon and is aiming to fix this. He's had the EPA pore over Poseidon records and has located the exact locations of the old uranium mines as well as the waste disposal sites. His plan is simple in that they move in, seal off the mines after ensuring they are clear, and clean up toxic waste sites for removal, incineration, and eventual containment at a more secure site than the Grand Canyon. Plus, there's the space station wreckage that needs cleared out. The problem is getting there, as most sites were remote even by pre-war standards. Coilis has requisitioned the appropriate materials and vehicles and is ready to begin work. Good luck, we're counting on you. Coilis will report back on his progress in a few days. He took a bunch of vertibirds, and he took a bunch of caravan equipment, I think. So, but I've had a lot of fun with this series. I think this has been awesome. We knocked out Canada really, really fast. So, erasing the monster of the east, New Mexico bears the scars of Lanius and the Legion. Populations wiped out, entire towns depopulated, and in their place are the Latin names that the Legion only knew as a parody of what they actually were. If we're going to erase the Legion, especially Lannius, we're going to start right here in New Mexico, and of course, no better place than Camp Red Sun. Red Sun itself managed to pay off Lannius through tribute and slave caravans, if nothing more than for survival. Better to sell a few heads than wind up dead, as they say. However, the eastern half of the city was given over to the Legion as payment, and it shows when we tore through the region. Many who had served under Lannius defended the city as if it was some holy site, and now engineers and construction teams are going to tear it all down. Of course, there remains the situation of the city's names as well as the surrounding areas. How am I to know to take a right turn at Albuquerque? Change it back. Castro Sol Rubrum changes its name to Albuquerque. Castrum Albus returns its name to Blingham. Castrum Saltrus renames it to Corona. And Castros Mars renames it to Galisteo, or the red sun will be fine. Nope. We'll change it back to Albuquerque. Bald eagles. Since retaking the nursery, our biologists and genetic engineers have been hard at work trying to recreate extinct pre-war species. Chief among them is our national symbol, the bald eagle. We've been hampered by the fact the nursery wasn't exactly stocked with birds, but rather domesticated beasts of burden. It seems that our national bird wasn't very high on Diana's list. While we're willing to overlook that, attempts to re-engineer it from what we had were slow at best. Then we found Vault 96. Well, it was supposed to be an ark of genetic material for repopulation, but of course Vault-Tec found a way to mess it up. The vault is largely decayed and abandoned, but aside some looting and a mass of the X001 chamber, its genetics bay remained largely untouched. Scouring it, our excavation teams have found a trove of untested genetic material for the bald eagle, and we've had them sent west to the nursery under heavy escort. Like America, a national bird shall rise again, or make them massive with two heads. No. Our national bird shall rise ahead. Hell over Helena. Helena, Montana, a city once proud and prosperous, was reduced to a shadow of its former self after the Great War. Despite the devastation, Helena managed to endure, becoming a minor economic power along the post-war caravan routes. The city served as a crucial waypoint for traders and travelers moving through the Great Helena Valley. However, Helena's fragile existence was constantly threatened by the Stormongers, a brutal raider tribe known for their sadistic practice of capturing people and turning them into kites, along with other methods of offering people to their so-called sky gods. The MacArthur detachment and the Brotherhood of Steel did battle with these raiders until our operation in the area brought an end to their gruesome ways. Hopefully now the practice of kiting will be a thing of the past. Already local militias and even caravans in the regions are sending out patrols to search for the last of the Stormongers and bring an end to their reign of terror in the region. In the meantime, we've turned our attention to rebuilding Helena and officially reinstated it as the capital of Montana. The city's infrastructure was restored, trade routes were secured, and iconic Montana state capital is being slowly rebuilt as a symbol of return to stability in the region. Thanks to the MacArthur detachments, our own operations, we managed to establish a stronger than normal presence in the region, ensuring the safety of the local population and fostering economic growth. The capital of Montana is returned to Helena. Fort Harrison changes its name to Helena. The Greater Helena Valley is renamed Helena, and Lincoln is renamed Lincoln. Kiting, that's a new one. Bringing back Bismarck. Of all the former state capitals we encountered so far, none have been in as good state as Bismarck. Not only did the city avoid the worst of the bombs, but the remnants of the state government managed to survive in the harsh winters of the north and established itself as a vital trading hub and power in the region, surviving all the way until our arrival practically. Of course, this isn't to say the city exerts control over all North Dakota, and the once vaunted North Dakota National Guard degraded into militia wearing their equipment by now. That isn't to say, however, Bismarck lost its status as a powerhouse in the region. It's just had to adapt to the times. Key to this was the location on the Missouri River and the power of the River League, of which Bismarck was a part, as well as the fact the town was home to a pre-war band of German refugees that created the first working Gauss rifle on American soil. This not only allowed a steady income that fueled the city's economy, trade, and river caravans that could afford guards, for Bismarck knew well they had the best money they could buy in the region. So it only makes sense that we restore the city's title of capital of North Dakota once more, and use the influence on the river and caravan trade to reassert control over the region once more. Bit too cold for my taste up there. The capital of North Dakota is returned to Bismarck, and Frayne Barracks adds to infrastructure. The Hephaestus project. Before the Great War, Poseidon Energy began to tap the magma beneath the Yellowstone caldera to build the world's largest geothermal power plant. The ecologists refused to finish their great work, but we're in charge now. If activated, Hephaestus could power the region as a sort of Hoover Dam for the North. Unlike Poseidon, we aren't interested in corporate greed, nor are we willing to cut corners anymore. We have the best minds in the Enclave, the followers, and the NCR at our disposal. The project can be easily completed without disturbing Yellowstone's natural beauty, which incidentally took a massive hit by the fallout from the Great War. Light up the North, or the tree huggers had a point. Light up the North, we get 5 water and 100 power, so we're going to do that. The Barrens land. Trade caravans going through the former Barrens Erie have complained about a recent rise in raider attacks along the routes, so much so that the several caravan companies have called the FBI to assist. This the senior agent suspicion immediately fell to the leader of the former Erie, who was started offering caravan security at increased rates. We're not stupid. We've seen this before in Reno, the hub, and Freeside, just sort of accusing them of what we know. The FBI pressed the question if the Baron knew of anyone who would be dumb enough to create a protection racket because the person would meet a swift end. The senior agent reported the Baron grew very reserved and declined knowing anyone. It's sheer coincidence that the FBI's field office main base of operations was targeted with sniper fire the next day, all of whom were gunned down. Agents are requesting an executive action to remove said issue. We can work with him, or in the eyes of the law, no one is above it. Gets event of barons and bailouts. Of barons and bailouts, Augustus Bailey was a survivor. He clawed whatever ounce of power he ever had in surviving cons, free staters, and the Sioux, and everyone in between. Like hell, he was going to let someone be pretender to a dead government. Grayson, of course, had heard this all before. It would make sense that many this far into the east would not exactly heard of the Enclave. There were rumors, of course, the MacArthur detachment, Chicago, a supposed expedition in the area, even the rumors stemming from Texas. So as he laid out all the charges, the Wyoming Baron just laughed and seemed to think he'd get out of this unscathed. Before Grayson could remind him, Bailey slid from a stack of pre-war dollars, which Grayson nodded. His time of vault said he made him no stranger to bribes. Oh, not how this is going to work, smiled Grayson as he picked up the cash, stuffed it into a suit. I guess this had none of it, however. You're just going to take my money like that and go? Grayson just shrugged. What money? His trial will conclude in 200 days or 20 days. Gets 350,000 US dollars and gets the event, the trial of the Baron. Just picks it up, puts it in his suit. He's like, thanks, brother. Church of the Silo. Forward units have encountered a crazed religious cult inhabiting one of our old missile bases. Thankfully, they had no intention of launching the missiles, but instead were releasing and worshiping the radiation within, which of course raised some alarm. While they were at friendly, where they were first friendly, they eventually started shooting at us once we told them to vacate the government property they were trespassing on. Thankfully, the radiation-powered weapons were utterly useless against ghoul infantry, which we were able to rapidly overrun their defenses and secure the sites. Our engineers are now working to get the base and running, adding more missiles to the stockpile that we have in Hopeville. It seems the United States is back as a superpower, even if we don't have the whole country back. Great, 2 nuclear missile bases, or their Church of Adam won't be a future problem, right? They're not going to be a future problem, right? The defenses are online. If you guys would like to read this, these are usually the same every time we do them. So this talks about how they were able to break through the defensive. So you get 10 fighters added to the stockpile, and fly Cassidy caravans. Littered across the wasteland of Southern California and Arizona lay the remains of the Legion's airship Air Force. The Titanic Air War has left the lands littered with the remains of the Crimson airships that terrorized American troops on the ground and battled the Air Force for control of the skies. The result has been a windfall for scavengers and scrappers as they pick through the remains of the Great Air Battle. For one service, though, this isn't just opportunity, but a whole new beginning. Hoping to soar above the competition, an enterprising woman by the name of Rose of Sharon Cassidy has managed to scrape together several crashed Legion airships and restyle them as America's first air caravan. Operating out of what used to be Camp McCarran, which she state claim to after the fall of the NCR, renamed to McCarran Aerodrome. Cassidy Caravans is offering not only flights to areas, but faster and safer cargo flights to the far reaches of the United States for affordable prices. When asked about where she acquired gold to pay for the McCarran claim, Rose of Sharon Cassidy said she acquired it from a friend who decided not to let go so she could begin again. Airship travels, didn't see that coming, gain base stability plus 15%. Now, teach for America. The establishment of the public school system, even if it will not for a great while extend beyond the cities, presents us with an opportunity. We can persuade the wasteland youth that pre-war America, the best country on earth, a land of Nuka-Cola fountains, prosperity, and greatness. Or we can be honest and say it was full of mostly good people who made some real mistakes, like the ones that led to the nuclear wasteland we inhabit today. Given those options, it's hard to see any reason not to whitewash the best a bit. Who's going to tell them otherwise? Tell the kids about the time we conquered the moon, or we can tell them about our mistakes. So we lose 10% war support, but we gain 5% stability and 2% legitimacy. We'll just tell them about the mistakes that led to the Great War. There's no reason to now try to go back and be like, well, we really didn't do nothing. We can restore Beale Air Force Base some more, which we'll do. Ghost in the Villa. This is the Sierra Madre. We're not done with it yet. We had started it the last episode. So a pitched firefight had erupted in the streets of the villa as our troops engaged with the endless number of what we thought were crazed, demented tribals. After capturing one alive, we managed to tear the suit and his head off him to reveal not a man but a mutant, one we've never seen before. This would explain why they managed to get up after taking dozens of lasers to the face, and only disintegration or dismemberment seems to work. Upon learning that, our troops forewent their issued weapons to use cryogenic weapons to freeze large amounts of them and then shatter them with well-placed punches and even a few kicks. This gave us an advantage for the time when we managed to establish a forward command post in the former police station. Curiously, we found evidence of a super mutant having been in the station, but it's nowhere to be found. Operations to clear the villa will continue through the week. Of an interesting note, our troops have begun collecting Sierra Madre tokens as sort of keepsakes for their adventures, with some trying to collect as many as possible. Then there's feral mutants. We've had feral mutants. I don't care if they get back up after shoot them again, or this is too much. Get me the Air Force. Nope, I don't care. Grand Canyon overflight. Several EPA vertibirds have flown over the Grand Canyon day and night, taking readings of the radioactivity in the canyon, and it's not looking good. 200 years of being left to decay has not done well for the canyon, and while certain parts of it are deemed acceptable, other parts are highly radioactive, even from the air. A few ground assessment teams were landed to inspect the areas, but they've all reported that the toxic waste has dissolved the barrels they were in, and in that or the ravages of time had done them poorly. The worst places are, of course, the waste dumps, where the poorly constructed warehouses are stacked high with waste and just left there. The teams did land at the uranium mines and reported the radioactive levels were lower than anticipated, but the mines gave off an eerie vibe. More than one team felt like they were being watched, but it was probably just nerves being around those abandoned complexes. Regardless, Coiley's sure has his work cut out for him this time. Yes, he does. The EPA will take a few weeks to establish base camps. Legacy of St. Libowitz. When we arrived in Santa Fe, we were eager to get the old Santa Fe Railroad up and running to assist in moving supplies further east, as well as restore the old state capital to assist in controlling New Mexico. We knew Lanius ransacked the old city in 2275. However, what we weren't expecting was for there to be survivors of this wrath. Through hiding, smuggling, memorizing, and guile, the remains of the Archdiocese of Santa Fe have managed to survive and were protected by cohorts of converted legionaries to the Christian faith. The monks and bishops of Santa Fe have managed to save relics of the old world right under the Legion's nose. While hesitant, they were willing to work with us, given we didn't exactly shoot them on sight. Interesting to note is that the Archdiocese might be the last non-Mormon or insane Christians left on the continent, something more than a few members of the Enclave were pleased about. This is, of course, all interesting side note, as we're eager to get the trains up and running for our push east and restore the New Mexican state government. Fascinating. Santa Fe ruins renames to Santa Fe and adds 5 infrastructure. Very nice. Do need to go up here, spend the money. Power up all the grids. And then we're going to do Poseidon Energy in a few seconds. A date by another name. Every stop had been taken. 5 of Enclave Intelligence best programmers were on standby to start overloading Diana's processes if she tried anything. The 2 viruses had been created and on standby that at least would buy them time. Was more, if anything funny happened, Callahan had an auto axe ready to cut through the links between the VR pod holding Granite and the rest of the facility. The Air Force was on standby to hit Diana's little vault with earthquake bombs, and the Secret Service was on standby with their best medical doctors ready to come to the President's aid. In short, every stop had been pulled to ensure that if anything went wrong, they'd get Granite out before it was too late. This was, of course, despite the assurances of Diana that they had nothing to fear, and she was actually intrigued about meeting Granite. She mumbled something about Lanius, but Callahan and the Secret Service were not taking any risks. As Callahan stood before the screen depicting Granite having his meeting with Deanna, he would seriously consider spiking his Nuka-Cola with whiskey, or just straight down in a whole flask of it. There was Granite, easily charming Deanna, who seemed to be all too ready to respond to his advances. They made small talk in a small cafe in what looked like a pre-war town, or something. It seems that the simulation was merging between the two, but Callahan couldn't make sense of it. Deanna traced her fingers over a glass of Nuka-Cola Dark as Granite turned on the ink spots on the jukebox, both leaning into each other. Get Colas on the line. Diana agreed to help. Not every day that Colas got a visit from the president. Not every day he got a visit from the president with an assaultron emanating a holographic representation of Diana. Colas, I'm proud to let you know that Diana here has agreed to help with the APA, or help the EPA with restoring the wasteland with Gex. That did get Colas to perk up. Really? Thank you, miss. What led to the reconsider? Asked Colas. Diana just smiled warmly. Dougie here was very convincing. How can I tell him no? Dougie? Asked Colas. Granite cleared his throat. Yes, well, she has some of her assistants in Colorado beginning production. Colas, I trust you to handle the details now if you'll excuse us. Colas watched them walk away, making small talk and laughing amongst each other. Coilus was seriously considering putting whiskey in his coffee. Unlock several gex for America, the Enclave rebuilding your country one town at a time. Diana will also help us make more. Oh, granted, that sly dog. Oh, you're a robot, huh? Or an AI. Shakes hand. My name's Granite. There's my 450 ships, not including the newest ones built. Bringing back Salt Lake City. In the aftermath of the Great War, Salt Lake City was left in ruins and was more or less abandoned for some time, aside from roving scavengers and trade caravans. The city fell under the control of the Mormons of New Canaan, who tried to bring stability and faith to the region as well as rebuild the old city to its pre-war glory. However, their efforts were eventually hampered by the relentless assaults of the White Lakes tribes in the 80s, as well as the corruption and degradation of the New Canaan Mormons. By the time we successfully flew the Stars and Stripes once again flew over the city, it's clearly seen better days, and it looked as if the bombs had dropped once more. Aside from the glowing green sea, the city has undergone a massive restoration effort. It's nothing more if not only a on vital caravan trade route, but river caravans are eager to sail the Snake River in earnest. The damaged infrastructure was rebuilt, and the Mormons who sided with us began working restoring the iconic Salt Lake Temple. Most importantly, however, we've officially reinstated the city as the capital of Utah, with the Utah government working with the military to establish law enforcement and reconstitute the Utah National Guard to hunt down and finish off the last of the White Lakes and 80s in the state. Good to hear. The capital of Utah is returned to Salt Lake City. New Jerusalem changes its name to Salt Lake City and adds to infrastructure. Very nice. Once the Navy moves in, I'm going to hunt the Dread Fleet. We managed to push, cleansing the village, we managed to push into Puesta del Sol and Salida del Sol, with the endless number of ghost people's attack becoming more and more desperate. Made worse by the fact that narrow streets prevent precision vertebrate strikes. Observation of has seen the ghost people emerging from under the city, probably in the city sewers and maintenance shafts. The commander of the expedition has opted to create a hole in the city central fountain in the villa. This would open a massive caravan from which a prepared defense could be used to annihilate the swarms of ghost people. We theorize they're down there and then venturing guns blazing to eradicate the rest. It's a risky gamble, but it might work. Find the roots of these monsters. Alright. We're in San Diego, so let's hunt for the Dread Pirate. While we're doing that, we're also going to conduct an anti-pirate sweep. They'll get these in 7 days. This I'll have to wait for more political power. We'll do some more of the Hoover Dam. We get air technology research. I do like how they changed the scavenging. I like how it automatically redoes it. You're not having to click it every time. You're not forgetting about it. Heart of the Swarm, the detonation worked, creating a massive opening in the depths of the ghost people's supposed hive. For a few minutes, it was eerily quiet. Then our troops heard the howling of the swarm, and the hundreds of the things came scrambling out. The prepared defensive position was nearly overrun, with ghost people clambering over dead bodies and ash piles, or rising from when they collapsed. It was the timely intervention of vertebrate strikes that saved the position, and our troops advanced into the dungeon below. Laser fire could be heard from the surface, and the team's commander is requesting cryogenic support due to the copious amounts of clouds that's down there. How many are down there? Probably quite a bit. We found a survivor. Pushed into the residential district, we banned standard building clearing procedures hampered only by the prevalence of the damn cloud. During the course, though, our troops were surprised to come across a survivor, an intelligent ghoul by the name of Dean Domino, the famous pre-war singer. While we're surprised he survived this long, he had just surprised the U.S. government is still a thing. He managed to smooth talk his way into having our troops not shoot him, but he remained strapped in his room. According to him, he was working alongside a courier who was making their way through the Sierra Madre. After being a series of events that we find hard to believe, he was ready to return to the world, but stopped by his old room to collect a few things. However, one of the ghost people followed him, and in the ensuing scuffle broke his leg. He's been healing ever since, and when he heard us approaching, decided to lay low for a little while until the shooting stopped. He's asked for medical assistance. A pre-war singer, what a treat. Its amazing ghoulification didn't destroy his vocal cords. Yes, actually, it's very shocking that he's able to sing still. Another survivor with no end to the ghost people in sight and the constant threat of the cloud. Progress has made so much slow. Managed to take the Villa Clinic, which is home to a series of advanced auto docks, making the place a prime location for a forward aid station. Attempting to push across the street, our forces were pinned down by highly accurate sniper fire. This was not an act of the ghost people. This was someone who knew how to handle the soldiers in power armor. After an agonizing few hours dueling with some of the expedition's best sharpshooters and copious use of autodocs, we cornered the assailant what we could guess was where they stayed this entire time. An assault team was being prepared or prepped to storm the place, but we recognized the sigil outside the place as the wings, gears, and sword of the Brotherhood. Send in a representative from the Brotherhood. Hopefully we can get them to realize that we're not enemies with them anymore. Oh, so now we just get GEC production. So just click on it, and in a year, you'll get some GEC. So the trial of the Baron. The trial of Augustus Bailey is concluded today of the Wyoming Baron, found guilty on all accounts, as well as additional charges of jury intimidation, attempted bribery, and contempt of court. Mr. Bailey was reprimanded at the beginning of the trial by the judge for not taking things seriously and seemed to treat the whole thing as a joke. The turning point came when Bailey's men were brought in with chains by U.S. Marshal escorts, having been caught trying to bribe officials near the jail where he was staying. Mr. Bailey tried to defend his action as well as accuse the Attorney General of accepting a bribe. However, he could not substantiate the claim, and given the Attorney General's spotless record of the claim was considered spurious, the judge promptly sentenced him to 3 life sentences without the possibility of parole plus 235 years. He has no one to blame himself, gained 100 political power and 1% legitimacy. H&H Tools Company. To build America back, America needs tools. One of the best products on the market in the pre-war was H&H Tool Company. We were keen to open the company up and distribute as many drills, nail guns, and auto axes as the production lines could put out when we were approached by Mr. House Securetrons. Apparently, this is his company not only by the fact he brought it from his estranged half brother, but by birthright. After a small legal battle and what almost erupted into a firefight between his Securetrons and army troops, he relinquished ownership of the company only after making any odd request to have his half brother's name redacted or erased entirely. We were too happy to oblige, and already requests are coming in from across the country. Is there anything this guy doesn't own? Proceeds from the company are being taxed used by the government and adds technology Securetrons. Cool, we got the Securetrons. The robots of Roboco litter the waste and are often a hazard to many scavengers and caravan guards alike, and sending shutdown codes from a recognized source could save lives. Many more are in a state of disrepair and could be a boon to scrappers and salvagers if there was a central system to repair and refit. That was our idea anyway with Roboco, a recognized pre-war name that would not only be recognized but would also add legitimacy to our cause, until Mr. House sent us a message claiming ownership of the brand. After a series of legal debates and stare-downs between Mr. House Securetrons and U.S. Army Power Armor, House relented his ownership but maintains a role in the company as advisor and monetary consultant. Another pre-war Mughal still alive. Proceeds from the company are being taxed for use by the U.S. government. Thank you. Thank you for your money. And then fund the colleges of the followers. It just gives us more research speed. And then someone did say, we'll do it here in a second. A cursed shelter. Cleaning crews and a few archaeologists have entered behind our troops to shift through the wreckage and clean the frozen cloud residue. A few discovered a set of notes written by the predecessors of the ghost people, preserved through time by the cloud. Upon reading it, we discovered to our horror the ghost people are the mutated remains of the resort's construction crew, staff, and police. Many of them cursed and declared the previous owner, and others have expressed horror of what became of them. A few other, probably medical staff, documented their mutations. Tragedy aside, the opening has effectively opened a second front in our cleansing of the Sierra Madre, with surplus forces pushing into the villa and a third team being prepped to assault the resort's casino itself. Compared to the vaults, they've got off easy. So someone did say, hey, you've got a lot of damaged infrastructure. So what you can do is you can add, instead of moving these to the top, what you can do is you can come up here and it adds a number of factories to focus just solely on repair if there is something to be repaired, and then when they're done they just go back into the pile up here. So I'm going to put 30 on there, so there are going to be working on the damaged infrastructure and different buildings and stuff. So that's something you guys did message in the comment as well. So I might even have to do 32 or something. Oh, it just says 14, so we'll just do 30. That's fine. Perfect. And then we got 100 political power, which means we can do vault deck. Dread Pilot's got 5 days. We can send an expeditionary force. The Flying Death Claws. What is that? Oh, it's not here. Haywire holograms. The third front has officially opened with the breach in the resort itself. We expected more ghost people. Instead, we've run afoul at the casino's highly advanced security systems. Holographic projectors that seem immune to all types of weapon fire Our team is currently pinned down in the lobby of the resort as technicians try and find a way to disrupt the casino security systems. Outside of the villa, our troops have managed to push into the remaining villas and are conducting cloud clearing procedures. Already, engineers, construction crews, and prospectors are rummaging through the cleared areas and beginning the restoration process of the resort. We should have the place up and running within the month. Why? Just why? This is Vault Tech levels of stupid. Or you've got to be kidding me. No, it's pretty dumb. HEPA filters. Sorry, I got a little nasal blockage going on right now. If I sound nasally. The end of the Dread Pirate. The war with the Dread Pirate has at long last come to an end. Acting on the captured charts, the Navy laid a trap and shadowed the area with aircraft for several days. Finally, a slow-moving object as well as several smaller craft were seen moving through the area. A closer inspection by the Navy patrol aircraft identified it as a large pre-war oil tanker that seemed to be moving by oars. A Marine strike force was prepared, although the Navy did get a few shots across the ship's bow just prior to the Marines' arrival to send them into a mild panic. The Marines deployed via vertibird and were quick to overwhelm those on the ship who were not in a state of panic. Advancing fast, the Marines gunned down anyone who resisted and captured scores of others. A boarding party of sailors as dispatched as well to secure the prisoners as the Marines moved forward and further into the ship. A small localized firefights erupted as the Deacon's defenders tried to stop the Marines' advance. When it all went quiet, the Marines suffered only a few wounded, with over a dozen killed and many more of the Deacon's crew surrendering without a fight. In the cargo hold, they discovered at least 9 months' worth of seized cargo that was apparently being sold off at smaller ports where local authorities would know no better, and others marked for South America. All proceeds will be going to the American government as they destroyed any markings to identify who owned them previously. Nice haul. 175,000 US dollars goes to the Treasury. EPA base camps established. Director Corliss has announced that his Grand Canyon Task Force has managed to set up camps at the old Verkamp Visitor Center after clearing out some raiders who were using the place as a hideout. A second force has been dispatched by Vertiford to secure the North Rim Visitor Center, and a third group is setting up near the BOMB 002 site. The BOMB 002 site and North Rim Visitor Center base camp will work their way towards each other, with the primary coordination being run from the Verkamp's Visitor Center. Smaller teams are being sent to known uranium mines and waste sites to assess just how bad the damage is, but overflights are looking grim. At night, there's a distinct green glow from the known dump sites, and Corliss is putting in requests for additional hazmat suits. There's also the threat of local wildlife, with mole rats, giant insects, and the telltale signs of death calls in the area. Corliss has dispatched some of his security forces there to help shore things up. Curiously, we're getting strange reports of screeching and bizarre howls in the night, but it's probably nothing. Just the wind, probably. Probably. Cooling jackets. We got Securitrons. The command. Investigation. I do want to see production. We are positive on on all of our trade resources except for scrap metal and circuitry. The Spectre of the Sierra Madre, a paladin from the Mojave chapter, arrived, took one look at the sigil, and immediately mentioned that it was the Circle of Steel, roughly the internal affairs of the Brotherhood. Regardless, he requested to put a call to Lost Hills, which we obliged. Within a few hours, a vertebrate arrived carrying an elder, 2 paladins, and a scribe named Veronica arrived. Announcing a code word, they entered the house with no incident. As our troops outside watched on, within a few minutes, a bewildered woman with scars on her head exited with the Brotherhood party. The Brotherhood says they will take care of her, which is allowed under our agreement. When it was pointed out that she opened fire on her troops, the elder pointed out she was missing for years and wasn't aware of the recent treaty or the reformation of the Enclave. We will overlook this slight. Well, at least something comes of it. I was kind of hoping to get her as like a unit or something, but all is well. Well, we can do a universal tank now. The villa is secured after days of heavy fighting and an unfortunate few losses. Army combat teams and engineer units have reported the villa is secure. Much of the cloud has been cleaned up, although engineers are reporting that the shoddy pipe infrastructure will continue to leak the stuff until the source of it and the ventilation is found. In fact, the engineers are reporting that much of the villa is in disrepair, and the buildings themselves are of a relatively cheap pre-war make and design. Will take some time and effort, especially since prospectors and archaeologists are keen to start digging around in the area we've cleared. Of note, one of our teams found an emitter that displays holograms like the ones reported in the casino itself. This might be key to defeating the holograms since they've seemed to be impossible to kill. Get it fixed up, we can settle people there, or will this resort ever be safe? We can settle people there. If they die, well, they knew. They knew. Poseidon Energy. This one has a special place in the Enclave's heart. Poseidon Oil Rig was our home for so long, as was Navarro. Uh, it was Poseidon who sheltered us through the storm of the Great War, and where so many went down when it went up in nuclear flame. Likewise, the Gecko power plant was built and run by Poseidon Energy pre-war. The restart of Poseidon Energy as the nation's main supplier of power through various nuclear and solar energy plants made many in the Enclave accuse others of cutting onions nearby, as it was for us through the Great War and beyond. Poseidon forms the very bedrock of power within our nation and gives us power, along with the potentials for a series of commercial refueling stations once we fix America's roads. Thus, with one swift stroke, President Grant has brought back the most important company in American history. Remember the rig? Wait, who's paying for the roads? Proceeds from the government are being taxed for use by the U.S. government. That's funny. Wait. I'm not paying for those roads. Work on the Grand Canyon begins. Director Corliss is proud to announce that his away teams are clearing out the toxic waste. Truckloads of stuff are being brought to disintegrated landing sites and flown out by vertibird, designated landing sites, and flown out by vertibird to areas for proper disposal. The biggest problem is the remote locations of many of the sites, and there are about 3 dozen of them, and the shoddy construction of the routes to reach them. It seems Poseidon Energy saved big on constructing the roads out of cheap lumber in 200 years in dry climate has not helped. Engineers are being dispatched to assist in reinforcing some of these bridges so that they don't fall out from underneath our trucks. Kulis has already lost a convoy and several injured when one bridge gave out, leading the assignment of all the other. We've also got reports of missing supplies and movements at night, making some believe there might be some remnants of legionaries still stalking the area, causing Coilus to beef up security with robots. Aside this drawback, the uranium mines are being identified as secondary as well. While they are radioactive, they are nowhere near as bad as the dump sites. He's got a point. Economic resurgence. Fund the college. We'll do Bloomfield Space Center. The granite grinder. I was really hoping for a wider range for what's really supposed to be the best of the of these. So don't need as much marine armor. Keep building that. I need to add these to the marines. Horses are being built. Someone does want cavalry. I have not forgot. We're going to put more on the wasteland tanks, the assault tanks. So we're going to start getting rid of the other tanks and start using solely those. So let's see. The granite grinder will go under him. The big stick. Big Bertha. The Muty Masher. Special delivery. Red, white, and blue will go to our tank corps. For you guys, I'm gonna give entrenchment speed for the tanks. You already have lead the front and bloody mess and heavyweight. Well, that's for field marshals. I'm gonna need to look for which one helps with. Really, I would have rather had idiot Savoy, but yeah, someone wanted me to build a slanter cavalry group, and I will do that here in a second. Seems we found the culprit of missing supplies and movements within the canyon. A scouting group was accosted by several of the mutated monsters while trying to find a closer landing zone for the vertibirds, Murlocs. The team members are suffering from gashes, and each one is suffering concussions from the Murloc King screeching, but they have been evacuated and are expected to make a full recovery. Well, this was to be expected. Coilus regrets that this will cause delays, as sweep teams will have to go back over the areas previously cleared to check for residual Murlocs. Further, several of the VBO-1s that were slotted for toxic waste transportation are being repurposed for air patrols to find any Murloc migration to ensure that an event like this doesn't happen again. Damn, freaky crabs. Hollow jamming the trick worked. By jerry rigging a hollow emitter to a portable generator, we were able to jam the holograms emission signal as well as used a rigged up sensor to find where the emitters are hidden, outright destroying every last one of them. Ascending to the upper floors, we discovered nothing but dead bodies of the resort guests, dead by the Great War or killed by the resort security system. We'll be sure to tear out that accursed system and dispose of it. Unfortunately, there are no more survivors, ghoulified or otherwise. There is evidence of others being here, but they seem to have long since left the area. We're also getting reports of the toxic cloud in some of the upper floors, meaning we might have to do a full-scale renovation of the whole place at this rate. Start sending out invitations to Naval event, or finally a damn break. Finally a break. That's loud. Trying to see what else we got. Power up the wasteland. Restart the movie industry. We might do that next. But yes, cavalry, I'm sorry. Division designer. Crate empty. Don't think it's these guys. Is it in here? I thought it used to have... I thought the Slanders used to have their own... it was like a mobile unit or something. But it doesn't look like they do anymore. Okay, well, my bad for the guy who I told I was going to do that for. I thought they still did. So I'm going to add Marine Infantry. And that's all I can add to these guys. What I'm going to add also is Marine Detachment, a Slander Scout Corps, the probably Vertebrate Assistance, and then throw on some of the Marine AATs and Marine AAVs. Let's save that for right now. Make some Marines a little bit better. Training them up to get ready for this naval invasion down here. It eats radiation. Our research into Bavaria mordicana revealed some interesting insights. While it is deadly and horrible fungus that should be purged from the records, it did have one quality: the damn thing eats radiation. Sort of. The vault contained far less radiation than was normally expected of a dilapidated vault. What's more, the plants growing around the vault, they seem to be unaffected by radiation from the surrounding countryside. After close study, the fungi was observed performing radiosynthesis, metabolizing the ionized radiation, effectively eating it, and even shielding the rest of the vault. It will take our biologists some time to transfer this ability to a safer, non-mutated form of fungus. This breakthrough could lead to us cleaning up the various radiation pockets that dot the wasteland, even eradicating rad storms that still plague the landscape. There's more. The ghoul scientist, aside from being a bit rough around the edges at first, has gotten on well with our team and has shared some of her insights into the plants at Vault 22. She tested and perfected a food additive that acts as a mild stimulant in humans, and it's completely harmless. Seems we were even able to salvage the food problem with the vault as well. This is a nice development, adds Vault 22's legacy, which grants monthly population plus 3% and infrastructure and construction complete plus 20%. That's really good. Power up the grids. Power up the grids. Power up all the grids. Must be just because we're pumping these out. Feral ghoul removal. I'm going to hold off on that because I would like to do the movie industry. There it is. Restart the movie industry. Vault Tech. Upon securing plane runners, we made a horrifying discovery. Vault Tech survived the Great War. Well, survived around until Lanius took them out anyway. However, the discovery of this has raised the question about the various Vault Tech vaults and their fate, as well as the largest and most prominent pre-war corporation. It's no secret that Vault Tech was the epitome of everything wrong with the pre-war era. It is a secret we blame them for everything wrong that we can be traced to us, but we won't talk about that. Priorities and profits over ethics, Territorial sales tactics, and unethical experiments on people for nothing more than to increase their bottom line. Aside control vaults like Vault 8 and a handful of others, most vaults were we've come across nothing more than nightmare horror stories displaying the horrendous results of Project Safe House. As we uncover more and more vaults and the unspeakable terror within, many have seen fit to erect a monument to the thousands of Americans lost in part to the Vault Tech's insidious desire for profit. On the remains of the children of the cathedral, Cathedral, which is also the location of the first Vault Tech Vault, the demonstration vault. We've erected a monument to those lost. It's a simple wall with the number of every vault we've recovered in its horrendous experiment. Some say that standing by it, you can hear the voices of those lost, whispering to never forgive them. Why do the voices say the master lives? Oh no. Plasma warheads. Superheated projectiles. Bloomfield Space Center, sophisticated air tech. By the rocket's red glare, with liberation of Bloomfield Space Center, we could use one of the pre-war shuttles to send someone into orbit and reactivate the Eagle Eye orbital platform. Some scientists suggest whether a one-off propaganda event is worth doing, but this would also let us recreate the spy satellites the Enclave placed over America before the war. Let's send the curator what goes up, or wait, wasn't one of the ghouls an astronaut before the war? Gets the event what goes up. President Grant, several hours ago, our astronaut spaceship crashed in the Pacific Ocean off the Boneyard. Although he is fine, he said he didn't want to talk about what he found on Eagle Eye, and all records seem to have been wiped. The station itself crashed in Northern California a short while ago, but on the plus side, he did reactivate the other spy satellites. Wait, what did he find up there? The satellite network screens reconnaissance plus 15% and gets the event reaching for the stars. I don't want to know what he found up there. We don't own Houston, so we can't do that one. We can't do Texas, can't do this one. What we can do is the greatest power in the waste, and then raise the banner, manifest destiny, gain annex war goals on everyone who is not a puppet in the United States. So that allows us to take out Lone Tree, Red Rock, Glowblugs, Iron, all of these guys. Eyes in the Sky, Beale Air Force Base served as both a refueling point for forces moving towards China and a strategic reconnaissance base. This, of course, made security paramount, with little expended in the ways of ensuring it was secured, which came back to bite us 200 years later. Without the base commander's authority, even our presidential access codes were useless, forcing a contingent from the army to sweep through the base, and the many sealed facilities underneath the base were swarming with fewer ghouls that led to further delays. Now the Air Force is given the all-clear, and it's returning to its original mission 200 years later. Since its reconstruction, it's become home to the Air Force Intelligence Squadron and an Air Material Command, making it the largest Air Force installation in Northern California. Weldon Ranch changes its name to Beale Air Force Base and gives a boost to air intelligence. Very nice. The heart of the Sierra Madre. As restoration and archaeological expeditions on the surface casino begins, our troops descend into the lower levels of the casino in hopes of finding the source of the cloud. Curiously, the elevator shaft leading to the place deemed to be disabled, and our troops were forced to rappel down to it. Arriving at the basement, they were beset by cloud holograms, and curiously ghost people. By now, all this had become standard procedure, and the basement was quickly secured, save for the ghost people. They seemed to be coming out of a hole and were arriving in greater numbers as our troops pressed on. They didn't appear to be bothering the security holograms either, and the holograms actually assisted us for a short time. Of course, that was until the third team cleaning the sewers and maintenance tunnels appeared. While there still needs to be a few sweeps, looks like the mutated crews are no longer a threat. All that is left is the Sierra Madre vault, which looked as locked up as any Vault Tech vault. We've broken into vaults before, nothing new. So we need to restore Cheyenne. Where eagles fly. After several successful weeks of work, we're not only recreated the bald eagle, we made it even better. We made it the largest bird of prey of the pre-war era, gave it the ability to live anywhere across the United States, and set its prey to species such as cazadores and stingwings. We've also set them to not see humans as prey, since they can easily pick up a small child. But that's beside the point. Today, several hundreds were released in the first of many waves set to repopulate America's birds across the continent. Journalists and reporters were in awe as they soared in the sky, symbolizing the very spirit of the United States itself. I'm not crying, it's just dust in my eyes. Yeah. A grisly discovery of the vault, while designed like a nuclear fallout shelter, was far easier to cut into than expected. Mostly as we were expecting Vault Tech levels of quality, protective measures, cutting a hole through the reinforced glass viewpoint. We accessed the vault with ease, and the door was a simple sealant type, similar across the waist. Inside, however, there was a dead body. The blue robes identified him as a Brotherhood elder, meaning he could be the missing elder Elijah from the Mojave chapter. A preliminary report from one of our medics shows he died of a stroke. Several piles of discarded foodstuff and water are off in the corner near one of Sierra Madre's vending machines. Surprisingly, there is no gold bars or money down here. Someone must have stolen everything out of the vault and made off with it. Not a huge problem. The casino's ours. We can commence restoration operations immediately. Should have let go while we had the chance, or while he had the chance. It probably is Elijah, because he was run. The Mojave chapter was run by an AI for a long time. I'm just going to increase the stimulus in all these areas just because we have so much money right now. I'm not going to do that. Production efficiency growth. About those vending machines, some of our technicians in Sierra Madre have made note that the Sierra Madre vending machines aren't like normal vending machines we've seen out in the waste. They seem to be matter converters of sorts, able to use the prepackaged materials and the Sierra Madre chips that our troops have been collecting to create a series of pre-programmed items from food to medical supplies. We thought they were just a way to line Sinclair's pockets before the war. This could actually set us up on the path of post-scarcity city, for a post-scarcity world. However, those tokens can only replicate anything on a small scale. Reproducing it on an industrial scale will take time, not to mention we'll still need the materials to actually put on the tokens themselves. Some have pointed out we could dispatch these machines to remote medical outposts to assist in supplies for the time being. Our soldiers nonetheless are upset that their souvenirs are being confiscated. Well, that's a start. Something good came out of it. Naval sweep was successful. If you guys would like to read this, there's been multiple naval sweeps that have been successful. We gain -3 manpower, 160 naval experience, and 80 army experience. Then it also opens up for us to come into here. And power up the grid, but then we no longer have the choices for the Navy because we defeated all the pirates. So cool, very nice. Very, 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 very nice. Construction continues. Construction crews are continued on the renovation of the Sierra Madre. There have been a few remaining ghost people sightings requiring a modest security assignment. Engineers and technicians are still searching for the source of the cloud, which continues to plague efforts. However, the word of the Sierra Madre has attracted sightseers from afar, especially since it's considered a myth and not an actual place. We've spent too much time to back out now. Yes, yes, we have. We can use Turtle Mountain Forest. Use a Gek there. 3 toxic waste sites cleared. Director Colas has announced that 3 toxic waste sites have been cleared, and while another 15 are proceeding on schedule, we're still getting reports of missing supplies and strange noises in the night. And while it's attributed to Mirlux, the increased air patrols have been hitting them and their nest. Worse was an incident where a Deathclaw was encountered by a convoy that damaged a truck, resulting in a waste spill that ironically killed the Deathclaw due to the high radiation. The area was secured, and during removal, the Deathclaw was noted it bore slashes and scar reminiscent of tribal weapons. Either way, the entire patch of roadway had to be excavated and repaired, but operations are proceeding roughly on the new schedule. Coilus is hoping to shift focus away from the sites and more towards the mines here in the future. It's expected the Deathclaws might be living in them, and he's going to require power armor support and heavy ordnance to take them out. He's put a requisition order through the appropriate channels, and it's expected to take some time before the army gets around to it, and he's hoping a push from the president will get it done faster. We'll see what I can do. Yeah, I don't care if he gets power armor. We've got a lot in storage right now anyway. Support, support the cause's cause. The cause partisan, sorry. We'll do raise the banner high. Wait, Masters of the Waste. Can't do this because New Vegas doesn't exist. We're done with all of that. Can't do that because Honduras doesn't exist. We'll do this one, and I think we'll probably have to end the episode after that because we're getting pretty close to being towards the end. Motorized speech, factory output. Well, we're going to do factory output because the gun runners love us, and really, if needs be, I can sell them some common ballistic weaponry to make them like us even more. With you guys, I can sell some salvage trucks, like Van Graffs. I can sell some laser rifles, Butcher Pete. I've got slashing, and then for you, I need at least 90. I'm only at 15. I do have Tesla cannons. I'll sell you some Tesla cannons just so I can get some relations with you. Perfect. Fuzzy dice, division attrition. The steel backbone. Oh, that's for robots. I was like, what is that? And then for you, we're using the Atomic Energy Commission, but we got all of them. So, still think they're probably one of the better ones to have for the while, just for the power station construction speed. For you guys, can't afford anything, so except for these. I was probably gonna get some of these. All right, keep going. The end of the cloud. Deep within the maintenance tunnels of Sierra Madre, we found the source of the cloud. The rust-colored toxic gas had been plaguing our efforts since we arrived. Here's where the cloud was at its thickest, even resistance to our cryogenic weapons that we've been using, as if it was adapting to our weapons, but that's just poetry. Simply doubling our efforts, our troops discovered the central ventilation and the central pump container that is the source. Petrified remains of the ghost people remains frozen where they stood, their suits too corroded to move, and the respirators clogged with residue. Sending a series of cryo charges, we snuffed the cloud out at its source, and thus now we can begin the long process of renovation with every last threat we can think of removed from the Sierra Madre. Finally, let's forget that thing ever existed. Another 7 sites were cleared. The Grand Canyon project teams has managed to clear another 7 sites, bringing the number up to 10 total cleared. A further 26 remain across the Grand Canyon, and they are in increasingly hard to reach positions. The EPA is having to airlift equipment as the routes are so bad. It's a wonder Poseidon even managed to get the materials there in the first place. The EPA did manage, however, to discover the old Poseidon office complex that managed the area, and it's exactly what we expected. Corners were cut left and right, and the roads were designed to be one-time use, with any inspector giving instead a flyover and a facade showing that they were properly handling the materials, though we weren't exactly clear of blame. It seems the regional EPA director for the time was siphoning funds towards a special federal project with money she was supposed to be using for investigation after state and commonwealth complaints. Colas dug a bit deeper, and that special federal project was the Enclave. Well, no time like the present to make amends, and Colas was hoping to do the job right the first time. Yes, let's do that. And the mines. Yes, let's just do better. Oh. I need to start building portable ratios. My bad. It's funny because we have 33,000 sitting in storage right now. I do, however, want to go to my tanks that are up here. Tank division. I want to switch you guys for the assault tanks. Oh, they're so much slower. Let's see, assault tank. They get plus 19 defense, plus 66 breakthrough. Oh, I do want to give them mechanized artillery. Give you these artillery brigades. Something like that. Organization's a little worse. Soft attacks by 100, hard attack. Breakthroughs by 100. Armor's a little worse too. Save that. Cool.
Man, the fucking president's watching us like a hawk.
I got the entire game through. We did this entire episode without them saying the F word, and there they go. We can feral ghoul removal and restore watershed again. Power up all the power supplies. The moment I click on those guys, they gotta say it. In here, I'll show you. We scroll down. We've done all the repairs. We are at 80% construction speed. So we're powering through these. We're actually going to probably be done with all of these pretty soon. And then also at some point, we'll start building infrastructure all the way around the country. And that infrastructure will start giving us more legitimacy. We'll also do these state-funded radios, support sanitation development. Those are the 2 big ones that I like. Invest into Stoon. Free fighters declared war on the Republic of Mexico. No! No, free fighters, no! Rapid deployment, raise the banners high. and we'll do Masters of the Wasteland. Once we get done with Masters of the Wasteland, be done. You guys don't have enough anti-tank to defeat them. I, on the other hand, will and do, though they do have a lot. Scavengers return successful production and construction technology plus 50% research speed. These guys have roughly 282 to 675 divisions, almost all combat robot patrols. During completion of the Sierra Madre, through use of engineers, 24-hour work crews, and copious amounts of robot labor, the Sierra Madre is close to completion. Inspection crews are going through their final checks, often double and tripling checking due to the nature of what was here. Furthermore, we've hired on a series of human staff, along with a few robotic manual laborers, replacing the old dangerous hologram security system that from before. There are still the occasional ghost people sighted in the maintenance area below, where a series of sentry bots are placed on routine patrol 24/7 to ensure confidence and safety. Soon the Gaul event will go off for real this time, over 200 years later. About time we put a lot of efforts into this place, or about time we've wasted so much. Well, we put a lot of effort. Not a waste, just a lot of effort. The universal tank. I want to get that main battle tank. Did I stop producing the other one? Bring you up. Drop a lot on you. Have them start actually producing these universal ones. A little bit better. Aircraft. The only bad thing is I don't have vertibirds to build. Like, I don't have the, I only have the transport vertibirds. I don't have the attack ones, so. Which I think isn't right. I think the Enclave should get him, but unless there's a way to do it. We can clean up the nuclear waste. We will do, that gave us a 25 chance of base stability, a 25 chance that Lake Traverse will get one building slot, or 25% chance of Lake Traverse added production of 5 power, or 25 chance of 1 legitimacy. We'll count it a 1 legitimacy. Alright, reaching for the stars, President Granite. There's a Securitron outside the door, and it's got Mr. House's picture on it. Not the cowboy, Mr. House himself. Seems he wants to speak to you about something important. It's regards to reinstating the Space Administration. Speak of the devil, and he shall appear. I'll give him an audience, or, well, this is the first. How did he make it outside my door? Speak of the devil, and he shall appear. Officer of the Sensory, Mr. President, while I typically loathe working with the governments of any kind, you have proven resourceful beyond even my means. In just a few years, you've done what the NCR only dreamed of, the Legion failed to realize, the Brotherhood can never achieve, and more than I have in 200 years. For that, you have my respect. What I'm offering you is the ground floor opportunity and the most important undertaking on Earth to shake the bonds of this planet and to spread out amongst the stars. What I thought would take me 50 years, we can achieve in just a few months. In a few years, we could have a lunar colony, and a decade a Martian colony, an American colonial ship reaching for new frontiers. You have Bloomfield, and I have Ripcon Aerospace. What I'm offering America is a future among the stars. All right, restart the Space Administration as United States Space Administration, or half the continent is still tribal. Let's do it. All right, we'll restart the Space Administration. Space mechanic, fourth wall break here. It's just it is just a test run of this whole space thing as I try to develop further. At its core, it's the scavenging mechanic reverse engineered, but it won't be adding anything aside a few events. It's more or less a fun little thing I ended up making to see what I could do. I want to expand on it, but for now it's a series of decision events all linked together. Nothing too fancy yet. I'll get there eventually, so enjoy for now. Delta X. It seems Mr. House has not been idle. Despite losing his rockets at Ripcon, he brought forth designs for Delta X, an upgrade to our pre-war Delta 9 rocket / ICBM. The new model comes with a large crew module, better engines and safety features, and a suite of electronics and systems that far outclass its predecessor. Further, it's buildable. It's all buildable quite easily using post-war industrial techniques, which Mr. House lacks, but we did not. We can begin a production immediately. He came prepared, I see. All right, well, we got Masters of the Wasteland, so we're done over here except for Santiago Sojourns and then the few over here. We also need to do these lessons right here. Other than that, once we take Houston, we can do this. We've done all of this. We've got this over here. We've got these to finish up over here. Sorry, these four. And then we've got what little bit between these two here and here to finish. And then that's going to be a done run. The next episode, we will start to come up here and knock out the last little bit of people we have up here. We'll take our tanks, probably take out Lone Tree with the tanks. I'm going to be using my tanks a lot. Up here, we'll probably move a couple of divisions to fight because there seems to be a lot. And then here as well, we'll be trying to figure out what to do. Though we do own one piece of territory between the United States and for some reason Mexico owns this territory right here. So I might have to do something about that. And then Painted Rock we can also destroy. So I hope you guys have enjoyed episode 20, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.